All right, so welcome to class Trace. In this tutorial video, I'm going to basically cover how to complete the abstract and text-based image assignment. The first thing you're going to want to do, though, is just go out there into the world. I know it's scary, and take pictures. Okay, you want to take a bunch of pictures, and what you're looking for are abstract images. Okay, the whole point of photography. The whole point of it, I mean, other people might have different opinions. I am not a photographer, but basically what they're doing is they are seeing the world and then they're framing pieces of it. They're saying, look at this part, and I want you to look at it from this angle. Whenever you're an artist or whatever you're doing, right, I might make a drawing, I might make a painting, I might take a photo. You're usually trying to tell something, you're trying to communicate some sort of idea from your perspective. Right? So like this is how I see this thing, right? You're usually trying to express that sort of emotion. And in photography, you are literally taking a photo from your perspective. So that's the whole point of it, right? From more of an arty part. I am not a photographer though, because photography, I'm animation and game and stuff like that. This is literally the opposite of what I'm trying to do, where photography looks at the live world and says, I'm going to take this whole thing that's moving and alive, and I'm going to break it down and make it into a single image that you're looking at. I'm taking a moment in time, and I'm framing that. I do the opposite. I try to take many, many, many images and have them happen really quickly, and then you see them to try and make you think that it's real. So photography is sort of on the opposite end of like where I am, if that makes sense. Like, to me, I see it, I'm like, dude, the world's alive. Like, why are you trying to kill it? And I'm like, don't do that. I'm trying to make a world seem alive. So, yeah. So I know a lot of you guys probably are photographers, and that's great. I'm not saying it's not an art or a skill or anything like that. It's just something that, like, I've always struggled with. I got A's in all my art classes in college, except for photography. It's the only one out of all the classes I took that I did not get an A in. Just because, I don't know, it's a lot more different than the other elements, and I don't know. I'm not good at framing things, I guess. I mean, I see people and they come up with these amazing things, and I'm looking forward to seeing your guys' photographs, but it's just not been an area that I'm strong in. So anyway, I recently went to the zoo with my kids, and I just used my phone to take the photos. I do have a DSLR, or at least I have one available to me, but I wanted to kind of keep it fair. So if you have a fancy camera, use the fancy camera. Obviously, the better the paintbrush you're using, the better it's going to come out. But if you don't have a fancy camera, just use your phone. That's fine. When you take the photos, try to take obviously the highest quality that you can. Make sure you tap on it so it's sharp and things like that, okay? And also, I would highly suggest, when I took photography way back when, I had an analog film camera. One of the reasons why I struggled was because it had a light leak. So half my photos wouldn't come out. So I always took multiple photos. And also, the light meter didn't work. So, like, I took it at multiple exposures and scrambled to whatever, because I couldn't afford a camera, and I borrowed somebody's. So, sometimes the picture looks like you took a good one. Make sure you take multiple pictures of the same thing, in order to make sure that it works. When you do go to take these photos, you want to look for, patterns, reflections, textures. The idea is not to take a picture of a subject, which is most of the time when you're doing photography, right? Usually you're taking a photo, especially if it's commercial, right? You're taking a photo of a product, of a person, of a landscape, right? Of a house. You're taking a photo of something, right? It's about the subject, okay? And most of your photography classes are going to be like that. When you do abstract photo, that's not what it's about. It shouldn't be about a particular subject. It should be about the composition as a whole. And to me, that almost kind of basically almost divides up like those two sides of it, right? And this tends to be more of the arty side, because you're trying to create artwork with that tool, as opposed to the commercial side. Photography is weird because there's commercial and there's art. There's like two sides of the coin. With the commercial work, usually you're trying to display something to people you know. Not that there aren't subject in the fine arts version of photography. That's, again, another reason why mine's a little bit different. If you look at animation, it's always commercial. You know what I mean? There are some fine arts people out there, and I can give you some examples, but pretty much it's just applied arts, while photography has both. It has applied and it has fine art. So, but what you want to do is you're going to look for textures, patterns. You're looking for compositions, not subject matter. In fact, the best thing you could do is if you could take a photo of something and you actually don't even know what the photograph is of, but the composition itself looks really nice. Okay, so I'm going to pause this for a second, and I'm going to just open up and look at some abstract photography so you get a better idea of what I'm talking about. You could also just Google it and you'll see what I'm talking about. All right, so I literally just typed in abstract photography, and what you're going to see basically are, like this photo here, right? So obviously it's glass with, I'm assuming it's from like a car window or something, but it's not about any particular subject. It just has this interesting composition, the way the colors are kind of popped around, right? So it moves your eye around to the different little bright lights here, and then that's broken up with the rain, coming across it, right? If you look at this, it's got this interesting kind of flow from the left to the right. Now, obviously, this is water of some sort. I think you can't really tell, but it's kind of going like that. But that's really interesting. This is obviously of a person, and you can even manifest your own. You know what I mean? Like if you want to like set up something, that's totally fine. But you can see the way the lines come across it, but it's broken up and it gives this. It's got an interesting form, right? You can see the 3D-ness of it. This almost looks like an eye, right? I'm almost like the iris of an eye. I don't know what this is, right? But it could be oil or something like that. But it's got some achromatic aberration kind of thing going on. See, even this one, obviously this is a people, and they kind of adjusted, maybe had a long shutter speed, and they moved so it kind of blurred it out. So this is obviously raindrops on a leaf, but it's not. It almost looks like little planets, right? And it's got an interesting linear perspective to it. It's kind of weighted down here, but it's got balance because there are multiple like raindrops, kind of balancing it out. This one's got some sort of radial symmetry going on. There's some texture in here that's breaking up the space in between. Here's obviously the tire spoke. So it doesn't, this one they did just again, looks like a longer exposure, assuming on a subway or something like that. Paint chipping. This is really interesting texture. You can see like it's got this positive and negative space that it's creating, which is kind of interesting. And you got this texture underneath, and then these shadows are creating these like interesting shapes. Those are the kind of things that we're talking about. Just look it up and you'll see kind of what I'm getting at. I want you to look for that. Okay, it's just a good exercise to get your mindset to. I'm going to try and take a composition, not just a subject. And even when you are doing subjects, you're taking a photo of a person, you're taking real estate photography, right? Like that's a big thing, or medical stuff. Even when you're doing that, you should think about the composition. Take that into account and apply that as well. This, you're just thinking basically of composition. So look for things that play with light, things that play with color, things that play with the patterns. Try different angles too. That's another thing. So what you're really trying to do is take something out of context, right? A lot of abstract photography is I'm taking this object that you usually look at this way, and I want you to look at it this way. So try getting really, really good close-ups, which is going to be hard on a phone. If you have like a different camera, some phones I think might have a macro option. You could try that, but get a really good close-up so you really get a texture, and so you can't tell what it is. Or you could try going really, really far away. You could try doing like a worm's eye view, right? So you're looking up, so you tilt the camera, or a bird's eye, you tilt down, or do a canted angle or a Dutch angle, where you rotate like this. Usually you do it for like scary shows and stuff, but try moving, change your perspective as well and see what you get from that, okay? And go to interesting places. This is one of those things where you could, go downtown and find interesting architecture and like that sort of thing. You might find something that you weren't looking for, and you could just go throughout like your day and just, oh, that was cool, and take. I mean, we have cameras readily available. We keep them in our pockets at all times, right? Photography has become ubiquitous. It used to be a highly specialized field, and you had to have a dark room and really expensive equipment, and now everybody's a photographer. Not everyone's a good photographer, but everybody could be a photographer, which is great, and it's also awful, but because, Facebook and social media. But that's what you're trying to do, okay? So I want you to create these kind of photos. And then when you're done with that, I'm going to show you mine. Don't laugh, because mine are terrible. What I want you to do is basically take the best ones, right? So these are like I said, I went to the zoo. So I was like, oh, this is kind of an interesting pattern. Although you can kind of tell, obviously, that they're flamingos, and the photo quality is pretty poor as well. This is like they like wrapped the drinking fountains with plastic. So I was like, oh, okay, those are kind of cool. I thought this was a neat, interesting, radial symmetry. But anyways, put a bunch of them. I thought this was kind of cool. Put them all in there. Then look at those, take all of them, and then break down the ones you like even more into another stack. So maybe take all of them and then put them like in a folder. Look at them, be like, okay, I like this one, I like that one. Then take those, put those in a smaller folder, and then if you have to, make another folder. But try to whittle them down until you find like a couple that you think you could do something with. Or, like, you see, these are mostly just textures. This one's probably my favorite one. I just like the weird, the way that the metal is, like, kind of reflecting the background, right? So it's not reflection, it's a specular highlight. So specular is when the light's reflected on the surface, but the environment's not. So basically, you can see the light source on it, and that's what you're seeing here. You can see, like, these aren't the greatest, but you can see trying to do extreme perspectives and stuff. This is kind of what I went with. So you can see this will actually be good because you'll see someone who's not good at photography trying to make it a little bit better. So yeah, that's what we're gonna do. So I'm gonna end this video here. Hopefully you get an idea of the type of photos that you should take. And then in the next one, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna show you how to make the abstract image, and then after that, I will show you how to make the text-based image. Okay. This is one of those ones, it's kind of like the first assignment where you're really going to have to try and experiment. So I'm going to show you a bunch of options, but, your photo is going to be different, right? So I'm not going to just show you how to make my specific photo. I'm trying to show you how to do general things to photos, all right? But I will do that in the next ones.